In 21.4, we come to the matter of pause, okay? Or we might describe this as pausal lengthening. Okay, what's going on with this section? What Ross is just telling us here is that when we have disjunctive accents, okay, we have disjunctive accents. These disjunctive accents force us to pause on that syllable, okay? And when we're pausing on the syllable, we're in many circumstances going to see that in Hebrew, that long pause is going to force a vowel change. As you hold the syllable a little bit longer because of the nature, the strong nature of some of the disjunctive accents, if the vowel is short under normal circumstances, but then it's being held because of a disjunctive accent, then that short vowel can undergo lengthening, okay? Short vowels can undergo lengthening. If the vowel is already long, then I can't lengthen it any longer, okay? But if a vowel is short, boy, I really can't spell today. If the vowel is short, then it can undergo lengthening. So, he gives us 3 examples of lengthening here. And at number 1, we could have a pathak becoming a kamet. So this little sign that looks like a greater than sign, this is not math class, so don't read this as greater than. Pathak is greater than kamet. Now what this means is pathak can become kamets, okay? All right, so if I'm starting with a word that has a short pathak, and then there's a disjunctive accent on it, and that pathak has to be held a little bit longer, then it can lengthen to a kametz. So just a case in point here, take pakad. Under normal circumstances, it's long A, short A, kametz pathak, okay? But what if I had a saluk accent mark? Saluk is a strong disjunctive accent, okay? It's the strongest disjunctive accent. If I see the saluk here, that will cause the short pathak to lengthen due to the pause, and it can become pakad with that long A, okay? So that's a kind of pausal lengthening that can happen. Secondly, there are examples that we will see in Hebrew where we have a segol. Now, is a segol long or short? It's short, right? It's short. And a segol can become a kametz as well. Segol can become kametz. And you might be saying, hey, wait a minute. I thought segol was an I-class vowel. Why can it become a kametz? Well, it's because sometimes the segol is actually obscuring what the real vowel was. We saw this with segulate nouns. And our prime example of this, and you've seen this before, the word melech has a double segol in it, right? With the accent mark there, melech. But if I had a strong disjunctive accent, like a saluk, or just to vary things, let me put an athnak here. Okay, that's another strong disjunctive accent. What happens to this segol? Well, it becomes a kametz here. And you have actually seen the form malik before, haven't you? You've seen melech and you've seen malik. Well, when does melech become malik? Well, in situations where it's undergone pausal lengthening due to a strong pausal form created by a disjunctive accent. Okay? And then the third example of pausal lengthening that Ross mentions here is where I'm going to go ahead and put vocal shiva here. vocal shava becomes a full vowel. Vocal shava becomes a full vowel. All of these are matters of becoming long, something short becoming long, right? Short pathak becomes long A, short segol becomes long A. If something's a vocal shava, it's reduced all the way down to almost nothing, and it can lengthen to a full vowel. And example here is where we have the third feminine singular form of pakad. It's pakada, okay? So you see that vocal shava here? Pakada, okay? If I come to a place where there is an accent on this syllable, then it is going to become a full vowel. So it can become something like this, pakada. Okay, and so with my athnak here, that's my accent mark. This is the vocal shava, which actually came from a pathak, right? Pakad, when it became pakada, would have been a pathak. And when it undergoes pausal lengthening, it actually goes all the way up to the full kametz. Okay, so pakada. So that's an example of that. I'm not going to go through everything here, but I just want to point this out. Yes.
What's the need of changing vowels if you're adding athnak? Why not just let it sit there and keep the vowels where they are?
Well, the athnak marks the stress, right? So think about this with me for just a minute. What did we learn about vocal shava? We learned that vocal shava is not a true vowel. And one of the things that makes vocal shava not a true vowel is it can never be accented. You never stress a vocal shava. We've never done it in Hebrew. You may have accidentally done it in your own recitation, but that's a mistake, right? You can never stress a vocal shava. So in order to stress it, we have to turn it into a full vowel, okay? Which is why the vowel changed and became a longer vowel so that we could actually put the accent here, okay? Now, why does it happen in these circumstances? That's just the way the language works, and I can't really tell you that. But just be aware, when these vowels lengthen, that is a peculiarity of the language, but it still doesn't make the word impossible to read or understand. Like if you know that this is a verb and it's pakada, and there's a feminine singular subject of it, then you're going to still know that that's she appointed someone, okay? That's not going to be difficult. If you come to Malik and it's talking about David, you know that's king, even though the vowel's just a little bit longer than what you expect, okay? There is one place. Oh, go ahead.
If you were speaking Hebrew in the middle of your sentence, would you actually change that vowel for the sake of signaling that you're halfway done with your sentence?
Well, the text, as we have it in the Hebrew Bible, yes, if you're reciting the text. It's uncertain to me whether these conventions of lengthening are going to be applicable in the same way in spoken Hebrew. And the problem, of course, is that we don't have any examples or audio recordings of spoken Hebrew from the biblical period. I wish we did, but we don't. So I can't really answer that. Yeah. Okay, there is one place where there really is a possibility of making an error when we have pausal lengthening. And it's when we're adding the second masculine singular pronominal suffix to inseparable prepositions. So if you take a look at lecha, okay, this is the preposition lamed plus what's this personal end or the pronoun here? It's the second masculine singular suffix, okay? So I would translate this as to you, where the you is masculine. Now, what kind of a shava is this under the lamed? Yeah, that's a vocal shava. So if I had a situation where under the pause, this vocal shava fully lengthens to a vowel, I could see this Oops. Let me change that. L'cha, if I get like an athnak or saluk here, this vocal shava can become a long A, but this kametz that was with the kaf is going to become a silent shava, okay? And so it's going to be lach. Now, this means the same thing as this. This is still the preposition lamed plus the 2ms suffix, but it's in pause, okay? Now, you're going to translate it the same way to you, and it's still a man. What is the problem here? Okay, yes, the problem here is that lach is also the preposition lamed plus the 2fs pronominal suffix. Remember that? It's to you, woman. Where the you is female. Okay? We go back to our lamed preposition chart. Let me go ahead and pull that up real quickly. Does this ring a bell? Yeah, that was back in chapter 13. So notice, to him is lo, to her is lah, to you man, l'cha, with my vocal shava, and then to you woman is lach. You see that? Lach. So you see the conundrum here, and that is that when we look at a form like this, when l'cha, to you man, undergoes pausal lengthening, the shavas, basically it looks like the shava kametz has switched places and it becomes kametz shava, right? But now the form looks identical to the second feminine singular form, to you woman, okay? And so will you be able to tell the difference? Yes, if you're reading a string of text where you know who all the participants are in a Hebrew story, okay? But if all you have is just some isolated, snippet, you might not be able to tell, okay? When will l'cha become lach and still be the second masculine singular suffix? You're going to have to see a strong disjunctive accent here. So siluk, athnak are the two strongest that we've seen. All right, siluk, athnak, and then there is something called the zakef katon, which goes above a letter and its vowel, okay? So those are really the three strongest disjunctive accents that we've seen. Okay, well, I don't want to belabor that, but just want to warn you that you could see that confusing one. I'll tell you this, it's so confusing that Logos Bible Software used to tag this incorrectly whenever you would mouse over and get the parsing for something. In the context, the you being described on a form like lach was a masculine you, but it parsed it as lamed plus the second feminine singular pronoun, even though there was no woman in the context at all. So they've since corrected it, but several years ago I did notice that mistake. Okay, so 21.5, last thing here in Ross is some prepositions, okay? We have prepositions kaf and men. And go ahead and look there on page 159. Okay. I'm not going to write out all these forms. But here what I want you to see is that the preposition men undergoes some changes when we add pronominal suffixes. This is what we're doing. We're adding pronominal suffixes, okay? That's the issue here. When we add the men preposition and pronominal suffixes together, we get problems, okay? The problems with men, there's two things that can happen. We can get assimilation problems. You remember that, right? When we add men to words the Marine Corps way, the noon assimilate, so we can have assimilation issues. And then we also get issues of reduplication. That is to say the men doubles to form its new form in order to add pronominal suffixes to it. It doesn't happen in every form, but in some of the forms, men becomes men, and then I add a pronominal suffix to it. Well, what will happen if I add two men's together, men, this noon is going to do what? It's closing the syllable, butting up against another consonant. It's going to assimilate, right? When it assimilates, there's going to be a doubling dot in that second men, okay? And that explains why we have in certain of our forms me, men, nu, okay, with a doubling dot here. It's because it's really men, okay? And the first noon of the first men has assimilated right here. Okay, that's really all I want to say about the forms. Let's just take a look at them, okay? And I'll read them. Memenu is really from memain who, where that who is a 3ms pronoun, but we have some changes. This is a variant. So from him. Memaina is really from memain ha, from her. Memmacha, from you man. Memech, from you woman. And memeni is from me, from me. You see the Keurig yod here. On the plural side, mehem, from them. I'll just explain what happened there. This should have been menhem, from them. Well, what would have happened here? The noon's closing the syllable, so it should have assimilated, right? When I assimilate, I should get a dagesh forte in the hey. What happens to dagesh fortes and gutturals? Gutturals reject dagesh forte. And so, to compensate for the loss, the preceding Keurig will compensatorily lengthen, okay? And it becomes me instead of meh. So mehem becomes mayhem. And I know you're thinking, this does feel like mayhem. It's not mayhem. It actually is following rules that you already know. Okay, so mayhem, from them. Mayhen, from them women, or mehena, alternate form of them. Mekem, here this is men kem. All right? Now, same thing happened as we saw with menhem. The noon is going to assimilate and become a dagesh forte here. Does the kaf have to reject the dagesh forte? No, because dagesh forte is not, the kaf is not a guttural. So that's why there's no sere with the Keurig compensatorily lengthening. It gets to stay put, and the dagesh forte gets to stay put. Okay? So mekem, from you, plural, men. Meken, from you, plural, women. And memenu is from us, with that new pronominal suffix. Okay? Now, the preposition kaf, as you remember, we had 3 inseparable prepositions. The inseparable prepositions were the preposition bet, the preposition lamed, and the preposition kaf. Okay? Each of them is pointed under normal circumstances with a vocal shiva. Now, we learned how to add the preposition lamed and bet to a pronominal suffix in chapter 13. Okay? And the reason we did those together was because they behave the same way. You just keep the lamed and the bets and you add the pronouns. The preposition kaf behaves differently, all right? At least slightly differently. Because when I add pronominal suffixes to the kaf, there's actually 2 forms of the kaf that can be used depending on which pronoun is added. It could be just the regular kaf, or it could be the form with the spelling kamo. And I'm going to add the pronominal suffixes to kamo. So either add the pronominal suffixes to k or add them to kamo. So take a look at the forms, and I'll read them and just point out which ones are doing what. On page 159, all of the singular pronouns are going to attach to kamo. So kamohu is like him. Kamoha, I'm just adding ha to kamo, like her. Kamoha is like you, man, adding ka to kamo. Like you, woman. Kamoch, the kaf with the silent shava, is you, two feminine singular. Kamoni, I get the ni ending to kamo. Ni is an alternate to the kyrikyod. So I could see ni, and I can see just a plain kyrikyod. Those are 1cs, pronominal suffixes. On the plural side, I have kahem, kahen, like them. Kahem, kahen is like y'all. So what am I doing here? It would have been kehem, and this vocal shava has lengthened, okay? It's lengthened. And it's, in other words, it's behaving like the lamed preposition, which we learned in chapter 13. That becomes lahem and lahen, okay? So here it's behaving rather normally like the inseparable preposition. So 3 MP and FP, and then 2 MP and FP, okay? Those are going to use the regular kaf. And then we're back to kamo for the 1CP. Kamonu, like us, okay? So those are the forms.